Okay, so for this session, okay, our discussion will be more on uh, storage systems or file system and storage models. Okay, so when we talk about file system, this is the architecture, okay, of the operating system, how they organize the files and directories or different locations where we save uh, content, data coming from the user, or application where application have been are being installed, okay, for our server, okay, to run this kind of application as a form of service, okay, service for our clients. So based from Parkinson's law, okay, as a principle to disk, okay, disk are always full, okay, it is futile and try to get more disk space. Data expands to fill any void, okay. When we talk about void, that is emptiness, okay, non-blank, but it's not, or it's literally empty, it's not zero. Okay, zero is a value. When we talk about void, it's somehow same as null, okay. So let's jump into our uh, introduction. As a system administrators, we are responsible for all kinds of devices, okay? And we build system running entirely without local storage, okay? Just as we maintain the massive enterprise storage array, okay? So when we talk about enterprise storage array, normally a desktop, if you're familiar with our computer laboratory, each computer have a hard drive or a storage drive where we can store your files permanently, okay? And that is the desktop or commercial version on how it is managed, okay? But when we deal with servers, normally, if you still remember the video that we have watched from Linus Tech Tips, a server can have more storage drive or hard drive, okay, than the entire size of the case. Okay, meaning majority of the space on the server, okay, is dedicated to the space for the physical size of the hard drives. Okay? So that they can accommodate more data. If we if you still remember, okay, uh, the storage capacity of the servers used by Linus is in petabyte in capacity. That's a single server, single storage server, and they call it Wonic. Okay. So we manage large number of computers with their own hard drives using a variety of technology to maximize throughput before the data even gets into a network. Okay. And to be able to optimize our system on this level, it is important for us to understand, okay, the principles or the principal concept on how data is stored. Okay. The different storage model and the different disk interfaces. Okay, it's very important to be aware of the certain physical properties of storage media and the impact, as well as certain historical limitation, okay, have on how we utilize this, okay, from the early traditional storage medias, okay, like magnetic tape drives, punch cards, magnetic discs like our diskettes, our non-moving component or no moving component flash storage, your SSDs, we have hard drives, we have solid state drives, uh, we have memory cards, okay, very small with large capacity, but because of its compactness, okay, we sacrifice the data transfer rate, okay, because it's a passive device, okay. It can only be, or it can only work when it is inserted to another device and there is power in it. So that's one limitation of the actual size of the drive. In some cases, like solid state drives, okay, it's like uh, a PCI or PCB inserted directly to our motherboard. Okay, as of today, that is the fastest, okay, medium we can use for our storage. Okay, so like my PC, it has a solid state drive. uh, when I came here, it only takes me less than a minute, okay, to see my desktop. Okay, but compared to my previous hard drive or SSD, which is the non-VME version, which is somehow like the size of the laptop hard drive. Okay, that's there's two version of your SSD. There's an NVMe or the non-volatile memory, and the standard SSD. Okay, which is somehow same size of the laptop hard disk. Okay, so I used the SSD variant. Okay, but the NVMe is way more faster compared to the SSD. Before, when I use my SSD, I have around 1 minute, okay, 1 minute 40 seconds to 1 minute boot up time. But as of now, I think the longest boot up time I have is 40 seconds. It plays on around 15 to 30 seconds. Okay? Ayan. So, it's important to be aware of certain physical properties. Okay. When we talk about available storage space, okay, despite how rapid falling price of traditional hard drives, okay, which is a scarce resources, I don't know if you're familiar on how hard drives are being used in crypto. Okay? So, in the crypto technology, even hard drives have been used, okay, to farm for storage spaces. Okay? What they do on these farms is to, or these hard drives is to become storage spaces of certain storage of certain crypto transactions. And for those hard drives that have been used, okay, to keep these transactions, they are paid in cryptocurrency. So, if I'm not mistaken, that was in 2019 or late 2019, early 2020, there was a scarcity of storage medium. After COVID hit, majority of the production of electronic components such as video cards and solid state drives, they did not the facility are not functioning, or there is no labor, okay, for employees, because there can be a possible outbreak. Okay, so the supply for this graphics processing unit and storage devices declined, and there was a demand. Okay, and there was also a boom in the crypto storage medium platform, where the old stocks for hard drives and old stock for solid state drives, okay, are being scalped by this what we call miners or data miners. Okay, so it became scarce. Okay, so no matter how much disk space we make available to our users, okay, we will eventually run out and need to expand. Okay, like Facebook or YouTube or Google, okay, take note, majority of the time, or normally on a daily basis, Facebook and Google do upgrade the storage capacity of their data centers. Meaning, they're adding more space because every day people do upload content online, either in social media platform, on our email, Google Drive, and other files. Sometimes we upload new content that is not available on the internet. It can be our photo, our blog, our video, okay, live stream content. Okay? So there's a lot of data that is circulating on the web. So this kind of user activity, okay, they don't want this user to have a downtime in accessing the services provided by Google, provided by Facebook, provided by YouTube. That's why they need to always upgrade, okay, update, so that they can accommodate, okay, the required storage space for whatever content our users will upload over the internet or through our cloud storage mediums. Okay? In order to accommodate the ever-growing needs for storage spaces, we use technologies such as logical volume management to combine multiple devices in a flexible manner to present a single storage container in the operating system. Okay? So meaning, commonly, when if you're familiar with PC troubleshooting, on a single motherboard, we attach hard drives. And when we install an operating system within that motherboard, okay, we assign a hard drive for our operating system, and we can use as an additional storage space for the existing hard drives that is attached to our motherboard. Okay? But in the concept of logical volume management, which is the concept of RAID, okay, redundant array of inexpensive disks. So that's a series of hard drive attached into a single PCI or PCIe expansion slot, which what we call SCSI. Okay, SCSI. Okay, SCSI. So we talk about RAID. That means redundant array of inexpensive disks. And when we talk about SCSI, SCN, SCSI. Okay. SCSI also an acronym, and I think if not today, we will be discussing that next meeting. Okay. So this logical volume management or RAID, okay, can increase the capacity, resiliency, and performance. Okay? But only two of them will be prioritized. So, for example, we want to maximize our capacity. Okay? It's either the performance or resiliency will be sacrificed. If we want to have more capacity and performance, the resiliency or the durability of our local volume management will be at risk. Okay? And separate data from one another within one device using partitions. Okay? These partitions in hard drives, let's say a hard drive which is in terms of capacity or size can handle 1 terabyte of data, we can subdivide it into two logical drives. 500 gigabyte for the operating system and 500 gigabyte for your personal data. So, it's the opposite of the logical volume management. Why? In the logical volume management, you have multiple hard drives and they will be read by the operating system as a single hard drive with the combined space of all hard drives. For example, you have 5 1 terabyte hard drives. You select a configuration for your RAID because there are different levels of RAID configuration. Okay? You want to utilize capacity and resiliency. So your performance will be slightly weaker compared to your top 2 priority. Okay? And your 5 hard drives, for example, have single capacity of 1 terabyte each. After setting up or configuring your RAID configuration, okay, your system or your operating system will detect that 5 hard drive not as 5 individual hard drive. It will be read as a single hard drive with 5 gigabyte or 5 terabyte or 5 gigabyte of capacity. So you'll just add the capacity of each drive if it's 1 terabyte each or 1 gigabyte each. uh, you will just get the sum of the sizes, and that will be your total storage space. It will be not read by your operating system as a single hard drive with 1 terabyte or 1 gigabyte capacity. Always the summation. So, sir, can I pull out a hard drive after configuring my RAID? No, you can't. Okay? There will be errors. Okay? And it's also very hard, okay, to configure if one hard drive fails. Especially the parity disk that we call. We will discuss that further as we proceed with our discussion. Okay? System administrators are expected to understand well all of this topic, the setting up of storage spaces, and obviously which one can easily fill, okay, many books uh, or many can fill the slots for your hard drives or the servers that you are managing, okay, to just to provide any form of space, okay, as a requirement, okay, for your system administration needs. What if your users did migrate from one database to another? Will you set up another server which is the same capacity as your old, or you will request more capacity for your next upgrade after switching from one database to another? Is there a better way to utilize the storage space to have a smaller file size or faster reaction time or response time based on performance for your servers? Okay. So what we're gonna do is to compare these different types of traditional systems. Okay. Illustrate those principles and apply, and if applied differently, they can remain the same for significance, deeper discussion, and many more details. Okay. So if you want to learn more about file systems, okay, the best author that we have used when I was still in college and even in my master is Silberscats. Okay. So storage media and file system is his major or mastery. And by Mark Kusick and canonical paper on Berkeley fast file system is another one. Okay. So Mark Kusick have co-authors. Silberscats is a single author. Okay. So we will take a closer look on the total cost of ownership of a hard drive. Okay. That's for chapter 13, but not for now. For storage model, okay, we distinguish different storage model, okay, by how the device in charge of keeping the bits in place or intact with the higher layers, or by the raw blocks device access is made available, by where a file system is created to make available these spaces as a useful unit, by which means and protocols the operating system access the file system. Somewhat simplifies, we identify as the main three component storage device itself: the actual medium, the file system, and providing access to the block level to the storage media to the operating system. And finally, the application software. The operating system manage the file system, and running application software then act as an agent to make the actual input and output possible. So for our first storage model, we have direct attached storage or DAS. Okay? The most common way to access storage is so simple that we rarely think about it as a storage model. Hard drives are attached, okay, directly to the server, okay, via a hot bus adapter. Host bus adapter. That's your either IDE cable or SATA cable, or your USB plug and play cable, so that your hard drive can be read as flash storage. Okay. So the operating system detects the block device and maintains a file system and on them and thus allow for access with smallest level of indirections. So this majority of hosts like laptop, desktop, and server system like all utilize this kind of model, and as of today, it's directly attached storage. The hard drive using a wire, okay, as a medium to transmit data from your hard drive going to your motherboard, okay, that's direct attached storage. It was effectively created on only after one approach becomes popular and requires and popular enough to require a simple differentiating name. Okay? So here's an example of our direct attached storage. This hard drive on your right, okay, will be the storage here at the bottom. Inside that is or we use an entire hard drive or a portion of the hard drive, it is partition, okay, to install our operating system. Inside our operating system, as we install our operating system to our hard drive, a portion of the operating system will be dedicated, okay, to the operating file system or our file system to manage the free space on our drive, okay, as a dedicated storage for the user, okay. And if you want to add more functionality to our operating system, we add more application softwares. Like I want to edit video, do install Photoshop. I want to learn programming, install the SDK for Android and select an IDE. Okay, so that's how the architecture works. Going back is over the years, the best choice here depends only on certain factors, including the number of devices to be attached, driver support for the connecting devices in the operating system, and the performance or reliability in terms of consideration. Okay, so what we have here is based from this diagram, okay, multiple direction attached disks can be combined to create a single logical volume. This was the RAID that I'm explaining a while ago through the use of Logical Volume Manager or LVM. Okay. Redundant array of another acronym is redundant array of independent disk. Okay. But unfortunately, this kind of definition on my perspective is they are not independent because they need to be configured as a group. And if one hard drive fails, okay, depending on the RAID configuration, okay, you might lose all of your data. But we will discuss that further on our next session when we talk about the different RAID levels. Okay, so this allows for improved performance, increase in amount of storage, and or in a form of redundancy. Like for example, when we talk about redundancy, you want to have 2 copies of your actual data. Okay, you have a 10 gigabit or 10 terabyte hard drive. Okay, what you can do is to split your 10 terabyte hard drive into 2 5 terabyte drives, and what is on the first drive will be the same on your second drive, meaning you have a duplicate of that file, okay, on your RAID configuration. Okay, yan. So sa direct attached storage, it needs not to be physically located at the same case or an even rack, okay, as the server using it. It can be on a different server or a different location as long as it is dedicated to interact with a certain group of hard drives. Okay, so that is, we differentiate between internal storage, which is media attached inside the server or inside the system unit itself or the case. And we also have external servers. Okay, media attached to the server interface port such as fiber channel, USB, or etc. Okay? So, with cables and lengths of which depends on technology used, okay, external media allows us to have large amount of storage housed in a separate enclosure with its own power supply. So even the server is down, okay, the hard drive will still work because it's not running on the same unit with your operating system. Okay? So if a server using this disk suffers from a hardware failure, it becomes significantly easier to move the data to another host. All you need to do is to connect the cable to a new server and reconfigure your RAID configuration. So that's one good thing about that. Okay? Simple as this architecture, it is also ubiquitous. Okay? The advantage of that should be obvious since there is no network or other additional layer in between the operating system and the hardware. So the possibility of failure on that level is likely eliminated. Likewise, a performance penalty due to the network latency, for example, is impossible. A system administrator, we frequently need to carefully eliminate possible causes of failure. So as a system administrator, depending on the capacity you are required to or you can utilize, you can configure your RAID if you want redundancy. Split the totality of your disk space into two and assign one drive to be your main drive and another drive with the same size of the first one to be a mirror drive. So meaning when I talk about mirror drives, whatever is the file on drive or hard drive number 1 will be copied to hard drive number 2. At the same time, there are some disadvantages. Since the storage media is, well, directly attached, it implies a certain isolation from systems on the network. So this is both advantage as well as a drawback. On one hand, because each server requires certain data to be privately or unique to its operating system. And on the other hand, data on the machine cannot be immediately be available to other system because it is required to be requested from another device. So this restriction is overcome with either of the two storage model, okay? The network attached storage and the storage area network or SAN. SAN and NAS, okay? For DAS, easily become a shared resources by letting your operating system make available a local storage device over the network. All network file servers and application ultimately are managing direct attached storage in behalf of their clients. For direct attached storage becomes a building blocks for network attached storage. From directly, we go to the network. Likewise, physical separation from storage enclosures can function as direct attached storage if connected directly to a server or may be combined with another and connected to the network storage fabric. So this is they become part of a SAN. Okay. When we talk about network attached storage or NAS, okay, I don't know if you have seen or noticed, okay, the hard drive used by call this Sir Lester. Anyone? Napansin nyo ba yung hard drive na ginagamit niya to install software to our computers? Have you seen that? Yes or no? Its brand is SKK. Have you seen that hard drive? Or external storage drive? Okay. So that hard drive, it's an enclosure bigger than my phone, thicker than my phone, and that device have a local area network port. Network interface card. Meron siyang LAN port. Why? because it can work as a network attached storage, and the capacity is 1000 gigabyte 1000 gigabyte or 1 terabyte. Okay, so when we talk about network attached storage, uh how would I explain that? Let's just explain the example here. Okay, so how does network attached storage work? Okay, when a user logs, okay, into a computer which is named host A, and she expect to find all her files in place just as when she logs into another computer which is host B. Okay, to make this magic happen, two things are required to be done. Okay? So the host file system had to know how to get the data from the central location and the central storage. Okay? And the central storage has to be accessible over the network. It's like you're sharing the flash drive from your computer to another laptop. Okay? So as you can tell, okay, this introduces a number of complex consideration, not the least of which are access, controlled, and performance. Okay? So one of the host function as the file server, okay, while multiple client access the file over the network, the file server may be a general purpose Unix system or a special network appliance. Either way, it provides access to the number of disks or other storage media which within the file system are effectively direct attached storage. In order for the clients to be able to use the file server system remotely, they require support for the protocols used, okay, or have to be in agreement or in a form of license or authentication and authorization. Okay? However, the clients do not require access to the storage media on the block level, and in fact they cannot gain such access. Okay, so when we talk about network attached storage, so this is the concept of your network attached storage. Okay, uh, these are the devices. Okay, so assume natin OS on the left is your PC1, on the middle is PC2, and on the right side is your PC3. Okay, whatever data PC1 from his or her account, okay, must be loaded on the desktop of the PC where he logs. Okay, after logging out, okay, the user from PC1 will shift from PC2, provide also the correct login credentials to gain access to the file server, so that whatever is on the desktop of the first PC that you have used, okay, will be mimic or duplicate, okay, make a duplicate copy from the desktop of the second PC that you have opened. So that's one good thing about this direct network attached storage. Okay, so three hosts using a network attached storage. So our three hosts is this operating system above, and every time they request access over the internet to our file server, okay, whatever things that they have left, okay, they will just provide that kind of uh, implementation, okay, to other users, or to the same users rather, that uses your network using a different device. Okay, So from the client's perspective, the job of managing storage have become on a local file system with the complexity of how to shuffle the data over the network being handled. Okay? So Albert in 1940 Al uh-huh. Albeit in somewhat specific manner, even thought that the file system is created only for the file server, and the client is still required to support from the network file system. Uh, that brokers the transaction performed locally using a file server. So the most common protocol used within our network attached storage is our NFS, or the new file system, on the Unix side, and SMB or CIF on the Windows side. SMB stands for Samba. Okay. So the Apple Filing Protocol, AFP, is still in use in some predominantly Mac operating system. But Apple adopted of Unix for their Mac OS X operating system, made NFS more widely or more spread all over the world. Okay. When we talk, as continuation toward our discussion, we talk about contrast of the disk operating system. What is DAS? DAS is, where's that? Wait, never mind. We'll proceed to TCP. Okay. So in contrast to DAS, okay, a dedicated file server generally contains significantly more than large amount of space or large disk space. RAID configuration, or the level volume manager, may likewise be considered as a requirement, okay, to this kind of solution, as to ensure that both performance and failover will be minimized. Carefully tuning on the operating system and particular to the network stack, the TPC window, and the buffer cache can help minimize this particular cost. The benefit of using a central file server, okay, for data storage are immediate and obvious. Data is no longer restricted to the single physical or virtual host, and can be held However, such solutions are less sustainable for the mobile clients, such as laptops or mobile devices, which frequently may disconnect from a connect from a reconnect to different networks. Recently, the development in the area of cloud storage have been provided, okay? But also be noted that the migration can also be found in certain network file operating NFS or file system, network file system, terms and protocols, and the Andrew file system, or the AFS, for example, is used locally for caching mechanism that lets it to cope with the temporary loss of interactivity without any form of blocking. While the network attached storage is the most frequent used for large shared partition or data resources, it's impossible to boost and run a server entirely without any direction from direct attached storage. So in this case, okay, the entity or the entire file system, operating system, kernel, and user data may we may touch on next chapter. Okay. What's the difference between network attached storage and storage area network? Okay. When we talk about storage area network, or NAS, it allows multiple clients to access the same file over the internet. Like for example, the Facebook login page. So when we hit request, normally I expect them to become what do you call this? I forget. Yan. So for network attached storage, the NAS file server manage and handles the creation of file system on the storage media and allows for file sharing access. So it can override the limitation if it is compatible with the device. Okay. So overcoming final limitation of the direct attached storage. The same time, however, it's especially as well as we escape up with respect to NAS and SAN, okay, enterprise hardwares. Yan. So as you can see here on the left on our picture, those are openings for the hard drives, the gray like screens. Okay. On the right, this is a Dell PowerEdge that have it's not designed vertically. It's what's designed horizontally, but the same size is nearly 100,000 or nearly cleaner than they have used it. Okay. So question is where's that? Huh? Huawei storage built-in a filer which enclosure storage sizes. Where did I put? Storage size, data availability and redundancy, and performance. It becomes desirable to access different clients to access large chunk of storage on a particular block. Dedicated to manage of data storage for storage area network, and in this dedicated network, central storage media is accessed using high performance interfaces. So this is not just common gigabit ethernet. It's in gigabit, but it is using fiber optic cables or sometimes using SCSI. SI or iSCSI, making the exposed device appeared local on the client. And as you can tell, the boundaries between these storage models are not rigid. A simple storage device connected by a fiber channel to a single host, like for example our direct attached storage, is distinguishable only to the client from the dedicated storage device made available over the storage area network. So in fact, today's networks file servers frequently manage to store frequently manage storage made available to them over the SAN or storage area network to export a file system using or a file system to the client network attached storage. So another diagram we have here is the illustration of how storage volume managed within a SAN. Okay, so this is what we call a file server. A file server is like a relay, okay, before we can access other protocols. Okay, so if you inside your operating system, you can install a Cisco Packet Tracer, and that Cisco Packet Tracer will be used to communicate to your file server, access your network interface, so that you cannot have some form of live stream by next or live feed for you to access your information over the internet, okay, using a file server. Like for example, we uploaded a file on Google Google Drive. Okay? So, based from your user account, which is your email, you want to access this file over and over again. Okay? So, if the file is in either in direct attached storage or file server, okay, the storage area network, okay, will look for an available space that can fit your entire file and the fastest possible way. Okay? So a SAN provides access to 3 devices. The host access part of the available storage, and as if it was DAS, while a file server manage other parts of the NAS. Okay? Meaning, the NAS is connected to a file server, and if file system number 3 right here, okay, wants to access the software, okay, they need to go through insights kasi. SAN providing access to the devices. Okay. Different consumer in the storage area network to be able to identify address the distinct storage units. So each identifies with a LUN or the logical unit number. The system administrator combine the individual disk via RAID. For example, the separation volume is assigned to each number is independent. Okay. The logical unit number allows for correct identification by the client and prevent access of data by unauthorized user. So sometimes if you have encountered this, we request to our classmates to makitext. Okay? But unauthorized usage is I think it's a part of a chicken. And from his island-like adventure, accidentally, she somehow like throw her cat over the ship, or if it's not a ship, it's a sea-based what this sunod ng dila ako. Sea-based what's that word? It's not authentication. But anyways, allows us to correct identification of the client to prevent access data by unauthorized server or unauthorized user, and important security mechanism. For fiber channel switches that use SANs, allows further partition of the fabric by the LUN or our logical unit number, and the subdivision into San Jose, or shifting from players from one to another, or shifting to one vacant space, okay, to another, which they call zone, allowing a set of client to specifically access to their storage devices. So that's a good example for this is setting up a virtual machine. If you have, for example, 100 gigabyte of storage medium, you can only allow more than below. But sometimes if we do that, okay, there's a time that the to call this, sometimes the storage media itself, okay, cannot, or if it runs in successive years, always check the health of your hard drive. Okay, so for my end, I used what do you call this, Hard Disk Sentinel HDD. Hard Disk Sentinel. So HardDisk Sentinel is a monitoring app for my storage media or storage platforms. For file system and oh my god. File system and storage model, okay? We need to create a logical structure on top of our block device as which they SUN unit appears, which is your storage area network unit appears, and they will control all the aspect of your I/O operation within the protocol, thus allowing it to somehow like have a brain on its own, because majority of the tasks can be done by its own. Ayan. So when we talk about SCSI, okay, yan, nabanggit na si SCSI. Small computer system interface. Okay, so that's our SCSI definition. And sans over the restriction, back to address clouds we take a day to close the chapter, look for these technologies, and would allow you to be a part of the system administration team. Okay. Cloud. Okay. Sanas. Okay. For the concept of cloud storage, okay, it is somehow like network attached storage plus with the capability of shutting down that's a big problem. And so for cloud, your Google Drive is a part of this cloud. Sometimes we it's not maltreat. We test, okay? Sometimes we test our cloud storage if by messenger we can attach files, PDF or other file format. For some they think it's not accessible, but I told you those are applicable. Okay, for the file system storage, we also have come full circle with the directory attachment storage providing block level access to distribute the file system, and they back around to the block level to the block level access over the dedicated storage network, but this is restricted access to the client to the specific network, as more especially the small mid-sized companies are moving away from the higher side to the moving away from maintaining their own infrastructure to a small model of the infrastructure as a service or IaaS. Since the different interpretations of meaning of cloud storage yield significantly different requirements, the implementation is naturally can vary, and we are forced to treat each product independently, even it's just a single number for the version or model. Functionality might differ. Okay. So a while ago we have determined, okay, the three distinct categories within our storage model. Number one of that is service. Number two we have is service provider. Huwag naman sana. Can you live? Okay. It's a big problem. Ayan. What else? So, how does the cloud operating system works? Okay. So, when we talk about cloud, okay, we are required to connect over the internet. That's one good thing about that. Also, Amazon have a short trivia that he did join Elon Musk. He did not just join, okay? He demonstrated his skills, and after what level, and after that they will just decide if they will connect with you or not. So all of these categories have one thing in common. However, in order to provide ability accessorizing or accessing storage unit, a programmer's way, fundamental requirements unable to fix, okay? They're needed in the model depending on the bit. We have arcane protection. Okay, some customers of cloud storage solution have provided recap as whether a benefit So this is continuation of our file operating system and storage media. Okay. Interesting. As we have seen this with the previous section, okay, this lagger were grown up to stronger than a 3 requirement, as it is more complex than actual cement, because cement do cracks. After that you cannot heal that, but if you add water, it can have a seed, it can have a blood, it can have a hand, okay. What's next? Single storage model. Oops.